the school in 1996. Before then, I'd worked for 4 years at Kimbolton School from I think 91 to at the end of 94 or 95ish. I was part of the grounds team there, and that gave me a good sort of grounding in sort of working at an independent school actually on the grounds. Quite different here, setting at Bedford. It's a lot busier. They've got more boys, and it's a smaller area, so that all brings its own challenges. I came here as just part of the team, as I say, and Norman Cooley was the head groundsman at that time, and he retired in 2001, and after 28 years service, and I was lucky enough to get the job, and so I've been running the department since then. And I always try to build quite a strong team ethic. We're all there to help one another, support one another, serve one another, and I think one of the things I felt passionate about when I came was the need to have continuity of team, because we did have quite a high staff turnover back in the day, and so we've managed to kind of stabilise that a bit. And in 23 years I've been here. We've only had 5 people leave, and one of those was a retirement. So I guess it's one of my concerns that if we didn't achieve that, then we could be in quite a difficult situation here. And just to have that sort of continuity of knowing your staff well, knowing what the strengths are, knowing what the weaknesses are, and having a strong team ethic. We all try and play to one another's strengths, rather be a concern within the industry now that there's, particularly in, I think with younger people, that there's looking forward into the future, that there's it's difficult finding good young staff. We're fortunate enough, we've just taken someone on from a local football club. But I've always tried to keep an attitude of learning, and being teachable. Never getting to the place where you think, that kind of arrogance, I know how you do this, and I know what you do here. And we all pick up skills and experience along the way, but being malleable and prepared to sort of do things differently. Just because you've done it one way for so many years or used one piece of machinery for so many years, that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it the best way or having the best working practice. So we've changed quite a bit since I've been here in the way we work, the hours we work, and the systems we work, how we prepare the cricket squares, for instance. We all have our own areas now, which seems to work very well for us. The science is often sort of evolving too behind things. The way we prepare cricket pitches now is different from what I was taught when I was a young groundsman, when we used to sit on rollers for days on end, really. I sustained some fairly serious injuries owing to a stupid fall while I was doing some pruning at work from a step ladder. I was signed off for 3 months, but I had during that time I had total confidence in my staff to be able to manage in my absence, and they did a superb job. And I think part of that is because I've tried to trust them and empower them to take responsibility while I'm here in their own areas. So it didn't come there was no crisis, the fact I was off for a while. In fact, in many ways, it seemed to run just as well, if not better, in certain areas. But I was so proud of the way they sort of rose to the occasion on that one, really. I wanted to get back to work. I didn't like being, inactive. I've always been fairly fit and active person anyway, but I certainly didn't have any worries or concerns at that time, and I just knew it was in capable hands. And I just had to come back and pick it up afterwards, really. And sort of, obviously, that things still had to be ordered, things had to be, built and everything. So it was just from my point of view, it's a question of playing catch up when I got back and catching up with the work. But the guys did a superb job. The pressures are slightly different. I'm sure there's pressure everywhere across the industry in different ways. But for the case here is that we're an all-boys school. An independent school, and the school very much believe in involving everyone in sport. So everyone gets a chance, opportunity to play in a team. We have teams down to like the under 8s, Fs, Gs, and even Hs sometimes. So there's a lot of pressure on the sports fields in terms of wear and tear. We've got a site here that's about 23.5 acres of actual usable space. So I've got 2 cricket squares that sit on rugby pitches, and that brings its own challenge. Recently, we've used flicks pitches a little bit on those. We found those quite useful. But the whole field is very heavily used. So wear and tear, overseeding and sanding and renovation in the spring is absolutely key. And we do more of it now. We spend tens of thousands of pounds on it, but it pays off in the long run because it just maintains the quality of the sward. Cricket season is always tough because you kind of you haven't got enough time in the day sometimes to get everything prepared as you would probably like it as a professional groundsman. And therefore you've got that tension sometimes of not being able to do everything you want to do simply because there just aren't enough hours of daylight given the amount of games we're trying to play. So I think that's the most stress-inducing time. I usually breathe a bit of a sigh of relief when the school summer term ends early in July and we made it through another one. Having said all that, it's also very rewarding when it goes well and it comes off and the fields can look superb with the sun on them in the summer. Occasions when we've been most stressed and most stretched as a department. A few years ago, we had a under 15 county cricket festival. Lasted over 2 weeks, and with under 15 and under 13 one. Didn't know what we were getting into there, and we had all the counties. Essex turned up, Warwickshire, Middlesex, Yorkshire were here, and they were using 4 squares at the end of the school cricket season. So some of the squares only have a few pitches on, had been sort of brought back into play, repaired, and it was quite a high standard for that time of the year. And I don't know how we got through it, but we got through it very well, and everyone was very happy and had a great time. So that was actually, given that we had about half our staff on holiday as well, that was actually very satisfying to get through that and get through it well. On the Monday morning, everything had gone wrong that could have gone wrong, but by the end, we came out smiling. So yeah, that was good. I'm looking forward to having more time to relax and do some things, and I'm really into sort of wildlife photography and things. So one of the pressures of cricket in the summer is that I don't get a lot of free time. I'm here most of the time. If I get 1 day off a week, I'm doing well. So I'm looking forward to having more time to myself, just relaxing and enjoying life. And I may even still indeed be working at the school in a part-time role in some other capacity.